to the official studio debut of Entertainment Evolved. So I will go ahead and first and foremost say that the lighting in here is not exactly the way I wanted it for the first episode. However, I got everything to where it is right now, and I told everyone that we were going to be on video this week. So I said, fuck it. Here we are. We're going to do the damn thing. So I want to welcome my guest. As you can see here, now that we're back on video, I can't do the epic build-up here to find out which voice is going to come through the other side.
I know, right? Like, it's just my ugly mug, so yeah, we're good.
Hey, here we are. Hey, you're a good-looking man, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
And he is here from Tavern Notice Board, if you didn't already know that. Welcome, Oz, to the show.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah, it's this is new for me. Like, I'm not used to being filmed. Like, the first thing we did was the Hot Ones Challenge, and I was just like, okay.
And this is a lot more intimate than that was.
It is. Like, it's weird just, having, talking to not only you, but the camera. And it's weird.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll wink and nod at them every now and then. So, this is, of course, we're going to be reviewing The Last of Us Episode 5.
Yes.
Which dropped early. But you were at a convention this weekend, so... before we get to this thing, I want to talk about that thing.
Okay.
So where were you this weekend?
So it was Savannah Animazing Con. I think that's the way they pronounce it. So it's this place. It was in the convention center. I can't remember the name of the convention center to save my life, but it was Anime Con. It was a little smaller than the ones I've been to, but it was still pretty good because like they had a mess ton of vendors. Like it was ridiculous. They had quite a bit of actual weapons sellers. Like they had like legit weapons, not like LARP weapons or anything like that. It was legit, steel weapons. And I'm like, oh, okay.
You see a little bit of that Dragon Con.
Yeah.
They used to have like where you could like customize like a katana or something. I don't know if that guy's still there or not.
Holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah, and they would like do your like custom stuff for you there, or if it was like super complicated, they'd do it and ship it to you or whatever. But
yeah,
very cool. I go to a lot of cons, and you now go to a lot of cons.
Yeah,
and,
I do,
yeah. Those small cons are cool, like, to just go and hang out, if there's not, like, a million things to do, whereas, like, on the other end of that, like MomoCon, where you're like, oh, there's stuff I want to do, and I have to go here and here and here, and then...
all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, or Dragon Con, as you're going to find out, is, like, that just turned all the way up, so...
Yeah. There was one really cool, interesting thing that I did. There were a couple of voice actors that did a panel. I can't remember the name. It was Phil, and Rico. That's all I remember. That's what they called themselves. But it was a guy from One Piece, the voice of Nappa.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, and then a dude who did a whole bunch of other animes and video game stuff. So it was really cool because like so you've played under me as me being the dungeon master, and you know how like I throw the voices out there,
right? Of course.
And I try to voice act as much as I can. So like getting that exposure from people who actually do it for a living in person, I thought was really cool.
Well, and that's a lot of like what Critical Role is too. All those folks are voice actors in some capacity. I actually just yesterday was finally listening to your season 1 review for Superhero Homies that you did with Ace.
Yeah.
I'm finally getting caught up, so I'm going to finish listening to that, and then I'm actually going to start watching season 2, and then I can start listening to your reviews of season 2.
Which I'm actually behind on because of the con, because like we were supposed to do, me and Kay was going to be my next guest, and so she's going to be my next guest for the episodes, I believe...
Is it 6, 7, and 8, or 7, 8, 9?
7, 8, 9, yeah. So she'll be that guest for that one. I haven't come up with a guest for the recent episodes that just dropped, but because of the con prep and all the personal life stuff we had going on, we were just like, we will wait until we were done with this crazy trip first.
Well, before we get into Last of Us, so we've got kind of a new format here. Now that we have all this stuff.
I know, that's really cool.
So, people have been kind of curious as I've kind of put some photos out like, hey, like everybody doesn't really know what all this stuff is. So I was like, cool idea for a cold open would be each episode we're going to take an item down for the shelf. We're going to have it here. And when we actually do the, when you actually see this online, I'll put in some like up close shots of this because you can't see it super well in the wide shot. But with you coming on today and you have a D&D based podcast, I thought I would bring out the gelatinous cube here.
Yes, the very iconic gelatinous cube.
Yeah, so this is a recent acquisition. This actually was a Christmas gift from Joe Brown over at Suplex and Microphones.
That's right. You were telling me about that, yeah.
And so thank you for that, Joe. But yeah, man, so tell me a little bit about this gelatinous cube as far as D&D goes, because I know you probably have a little more knowledge of it than me. I know it's going to be in the movie, and it's important enough that they put it in the trailer.
Right. So the gelatinous cube is one of the most iconic monsters that, and people most people have like favorites, and this is right up there in the top 10 of favorite monsters for a lot of people. And so the thing with the gelatinous cube is it doesn't really have a brain. It's just a blob of
goop,
of gelatinous.
It's a blob of gelatinous.
No, but so usually these are terrifying, especially for low level parties. They don't move very fast because they are literally a cube of goo. But if you happen to get caught in one of these things, the acid damage you would take is unimaginable. And like you said, they brought it up. The movie has definitely showcased that. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, the party jumps into a gelatinous cube to escape a displacer beast, which is kind of insane.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, it's like I guess they're picking the lesser of two deaths. You know?
Right, yeah. Honestly, I think I would. I don't know. I don't know what I would. Jumping into a gelatinous cube, I don't know if I would do that rather than fighting a displacer beast, though.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, some of the detail on this particular piece is so cool. Like, you got all these skulls and stuff down here that it's kind of I guess, oozed out over time, because I guess it, I guess it kind of eats the flesh and stuff off.
Oh, of course. Yeah, exactly. So one of the cool things is, you put these, you use these in, really tight-knit corridors in dungeons, and it's just terrifying. It's kind of think of a really slow, Indiana Jones boulder, but that has acid.
With acid.
With acid.
And you told me what kind of beholder this is that's in here. This is a watcher, is that right?
No. Let's see. I can't even see.
Gazer?
No, that is a spectator, actually.
Spectator, okay. There's so many different kinds.
Which we actually cover a little bit of that on the, I believe it's my third or fourth episode with when the homie Ace.
Yes.
We talked about beholders, so the spectator is one of them.
Yeah, and so he's in there, and he's no joke either, and there's an adventurer stuck in there, so... so that's the gelatinous cube, everyone. So next episode it's going to go back on the shelf, and then based kind of either if there's a guest appropriate item like today, then I'll do that. But otherwise, it'll just be whatever I want. And then so I'll put it up there, and we'll bring something else down, and we'll talk about it. So
that's really cool. I like that idea.
But the main event today is The Last of Us Episode 5.
Ooh.
This dropped early. It dropped on Friday. And we were not able to cover it until today because I also had a crazy weekend. So here we are. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Super Bowl, for messing up everybody's whole schedule.
Right.
But, here we are. Last of Us Episode 5. You watched this last night? Is that right?
Last night. So we got back from the con around 8 o'clock, and I was I binge-watched a little bit of Legends of Vox Machina because the last episodes got dropped, but then I went immediately right into The Last of Us Season 5, Episode 5, because I knew I had to be here. So.
And this is also where I'll give the warning, too, if you haven't listened to our previous coverage. We are not going to talk about anything from the games that is beyond Episode 5. So, we will compare and contrast Episode 5 to the game, but, anything that happens in the games beyond Episode 5, we're going to save that for the end, and we'll give full warnings for that. And then we'll talk a little bit, if you've played the games and you want to know kind of what we think may be happening next, or if you want us to shit on a potential Season 2 already, we may do some of any of that. But for right now, if you're only watching the show, haven't played the games, you're safe. So every guest I've had on here, it's kind of a pattern at this point. What's your experience with the games? How did you get into them?
So I I've definitely touched on this with on the Superhero Homie podcast, but I'm always late to everything.
Right. I was late to this one too. So
yeah, and so it was. I remember the first time I ever played Last of Us was at the homie Ace's house. I think it was right before we started recording a podcast, and he let me play it. And I literally turned into a loudmouth lady in a horror movie in the theater, just cussing up a storm. Don't you go in there? That sort of, that feel. I was like freaking out in the opening, and like once I played that, I actually went home and downloaded the digital copy, and I played it all the way through. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's kind of an ongoing thing. It's like I am not a big fan of the games,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, "But you really love the show," and I'm like, "Well, because I feel like this was the medium that it was always intended for it. Like I feel like the show is a better medium for this story than the video game was, and so I do love the show." And now, have you played the second one also, or just the first one?
I started the second one. I have not actually dove back into playing it because of certain things that happened.
Okay.
And I haven't brought myself to play it again.
Okay, that's fair. That'll be important at the end.
At the end.
So this episode, man, I think honestly, just initial thoughts. I think it is the closest to the games that we've gotten so far in terms of like faithful to the game.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I do like the subtle changes that they did make, and also adding ASL in it, and I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
But no, like these characters they put in here, like the casting for Henry and Sam, spot on, man. I loved every second of them on screen. This new character that you don't actually get to see in the game, I don't think, is I can't even remember her name. Like she's the leader. Kathleen, yeah,
Yes.
the leader of the resistance in Kansas City, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I liked all the stuff with her. Like it actually kind of gave a reason why these crazy assholes were attacking these two people.
Yeah, she's the leader of New Fedra.
New Fedra, yeah,
Because
New
it's
Fedra.
basically just the old Fedra, but with different people.
Right, and a little more not as funded.
Yeah, definitely not as funded. I loved the intro here because we got sort of the backstory, like in the last episode, and these episodes, like 4 and 5, really work to me as like a part 1 and 2 of a
Right,
story.
yeah.
Last episode, we kind of figured, okay, something has gone down here, and we find out they've kind of overthrown Fedra, whatever, and it's very clear that there's now this kind of cult-like resistance, whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is an interesting view at like, what's the day after the revolution look like? And you don't want it to look like this episode opens.
Right? Ooh,
that never leads to anything good.
no, like it kind of gave me like the Hunger Games vibes of like we're just gonna replace the president with our own.
Yeah.
No, that's not how that works.
yeah, we're just gonna put our own in here, and it's like, but that's just the same thing.
It doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
But I thought that kind of getting to see Henry and Sam's escape and kind of what was going on here was really good because we get to see this this kind of environment that Joel and Ellie have been dropped into because we don't really understand it when they originally show up. But
Right, exactly.
this gives us that insight.
I will backtrack a little bit to episode 4 because, like you said, episode 4 is like part 1. I love the way they did the initial scene when Ellie and Joel like stroll up, roll up in their vehicle, and there's the wounded guy. It was like the only thing I was a little upset about was like he didn't say he's not hurt. That was the only thing. But like just seeing that because like in the game it's very very close to that, and seeing that whole thing transpire, you don't really actually get to see how Henry and Sam, like any of their story. So like they just kind of show up, like kind of the way they did in the episode, and it was just like, who are these people? I want to know more.
Right.
So I love that the show gave us that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of goes back to episode 3 where like we're getting a much more in-depth kind of character story than we could have gotten for the medium of the game. So then, after we see this, we flash to the present, the way episode 4 ended, where we actually get to kind of meet Henry and Sam. And I loved this scene with Joel on the ground, and Ellie's just like, "Tell him we're not gonna kill him." And he's like, "Sure," and she's just like, "Damn it, man."
Damn it, Joel.
yeah. I absolutely loved everybody's acting here in this scene was just superb because you have Sam who's got to act without a voice, right, for the most part. And I actually you mentioned the ASL, and I actually watched the kind of, I guess, behind the scenes or whatever that they do, and I never watched those for this show for whatever reason. I just haven't. generally because when an episode of this ends, I just like need time.
Oh, oh my god! Especially after episode 3,
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I just kind of sat there for a minute, just like reflecting on life. And so this one, I watched it though, and they talked about how like they actually had like a ASL coach or something come on, and basically like all the cast learned it, and we're all like really having fun, like learning
that's really
it
cool.
And
That is
using it.
really
So,
cool.
yeah, I thought that was just like an awesome touch from them, like adding that like disability to Sam as well. Like
Yeah,
that
because
just
like it's not in the game, and like
Yeah.
I thought honestly was one of the it was very tastefully done, like
Right.
because like obviously you can't do that in a video game because like it's like getting those fingers to do all of the the actual signs would probably be very difficult design wise,
especially when this came out. I mean,
Right, oh,
today
yeah.
it's a little easier, but in PS3 graphics, that wasn't happening.
No, no, but it was really like really refreshing to see have that representation for the hearing impaired, which is like my mother-in-law is hearing impaired, so like that actually made me feel really good to see that in the show. So.
Yeah, I thought it was very well done, and it added an extra level of danger to kind of Henry and Sam's journey, because now you've got not only Sam a little kid, but he's also deaf, and so you just kind of add that extra layer of kind of danger and hardship to their journey, and you can see that Henry is so protective of him, and to a degree he uses him being hearing impaired to to kind of protect him a little more as well, and kind of shelter him a little bit from some of the stuff that's out in the world now.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought all the stuff where he was doing the drawings and stuff, like all of that was it was super well done and touching.
Oh yeah, and like if I'm not mistaken, like you did find a couple of different drawings from him in the game, but like as far as like the way they did this, like it really showed Sam's personality and the way he views Henry, and it's a really, like you said, touching scene.
And let me say this too, and there is a significant, I guess, amount of detractors on the internet that think that Bella Ramsey is not a good Ellie, and they're wrong. And if you still think that after this episode, I don't know what I could possibly say to change your mind.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's
like
it's a thing.
No, it's
not a huge contingent. It's a vocal minority as usual.
Okay.
As usual. Thanks, internet.
Thanks, internet.
But yeah, there's people that are like, it shouldn't be her, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, okay, well,
yeah, I agree with you. They are wrong. She is knocking it out of the park, and like she may not have the exact look for Ellie or whatever. You can't recreate a video game,
right?
But at the same time, like she's got the voice down and her attitude and everything. I don't see how anybody can say that.
Yeah, I don't know what they were wanting. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that she is killing it, and especially in this episode, because I would say the only thing about this episode, and maybe also the last one, but I would say more this one, Joel is more in the background in this episode, and that's good because we're finally getting to see Ellie more in the forefront, and like Bella Ramsey just really shined in this episode to me.
Yeah, she definitely did, and I actually enjoyed the idea of she just got her first gun, episode 4, and like later in the episode you get like the major attack scene. She's running and she's like aimlessly firing this gun. It actually shows that she does not know what she's really doing with it. So like it's like that whole thing in most TV shows, like, oh, you give this new weapon, you know how to use it automatically. Yeah,
right.
No, not with this. Like, not at all.
Yeah, she's just like shooting it back at that truck or whatever.
I'm like, come on.
It's like, that's not gonna do anything, but okay, good try, I guess. You've got it. So, all right, so we see a little bit more of like kind of Kathleen's tactics. We see how she found out about Henry hiding with the doctor from the episode 4 that she brutally murdered. They did not. Well, I still, and I hold this against episode 4 because I still think it's the weakest. I still want to know why she killed a doctor other than just straight up blind rage? Because it seems like a doctor is a very big commodity in this setting.
Yeah, I think it was like if she was gonna do it, like make it a public display. Don't just shoot him in a cell. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like if you're gonna make an example of this guy, which I don't even know if that's what she was doing. It needs to be more like out there. You're the leader of these people. This person betrayed you. Shoot them in front of people. Let them know this is what happens when you betray us.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor or not. Don't care. Bang, you're dead.
Yeah.
But she didn't do that. Like, honestly, I didn't even think it was blind rage. Honestly, it just kind of felt a little stale.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You killed the doctor.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I really love, though, because I think that the actress, and her name doesn't come to me right off my top of my head. She was in The Shield, which is right here. That's the first place I saw her at, and she plays a insane person in that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
it's like all the roles I've ever seen her in. Because like I first saw her in Rose Red, and she plays, I believe, Sister. I think that's her character's name, and it's she's very wholesome, and so I'm over here like, I'm not buying you being a cold-blooded bitch. Just saying.
Yeah, no. In this, yeah, she's like a psychotic kind of murderer.
Okay.
Not to spoil a now 20-year-old television show, but she catches like her neighbor looking at her. No, it's not even that. She catches her husband looking at her neighbor like. She's like in an infatuation type way.
Right.
And so she cuts the neighbor's arm off. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
I retract my statement.
Yeah. That's the first time I was introduced to her. So when I saw her in this, I was like, oh no. Yeah. And the thing about it is, there were some detractors for her too online, and I was like, the reason that she's horrifying in this role as this character is, she's like the most stuck up mom at like the freaking PTA meeting, you know? Like, this is a real person that like exists that you probably know.
Yeah.
And then is placed in this environment where survival is the thing that they have to do.
And a leadership role on top of that.
Yeah, and she's got like a cult-like following. That's horrifying.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, she's like the ultimate Karen, just but with a cult.
I was like, she is the manager.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Real bad time. So that being said, we kind of go forward and we get this kind of, I guess, chase really. When Henry and Sam, Henry speaks to Joel and says, okay, this is my plan. I'm going to go down through the tunnels. They've been cleaned out. And I was like, okay, either the tunnels have not been cleaned out or something much more sinister has gone on here. Turns out to be the latter, because they make it through there. Now, as they're going through the tunnels, though, they come across a community from the game. And I saw a lot of the like side-by-side comparisons of this, because it's been a while since I played this part of the first game. And they did a really good job with it. I mean, it doesn't happen the way it happens in the game.
Oh, no. Like I was a little disappointed that it didn't split them up like they do in the game. Like, because I thought that was really a really cool, segue and stuff like that. And like how you got to know, I believe it was Sam. Because he traveled with Joel, because they got split up. And I would love to see that on camera, but at the same time, the story didn't need it. Right. So I understand why they didn't.
And I think the Joel in this show would never have gone for that, like, no matter what the situation was, really, Like, he would have kicked through, like, a concrete wall, Like,
right, he would, yeah, like, I will say that what they've done with Joel in the show compared to the game is, like, I feel like, honestly, I feel like they've done this with a lot of characters. They've made it more compassionate, like, more human.
Right.
Like, I felt like Joel and, like, Tess were, like, a lot harder in the video game, and so, like, seeing them be a little more actual people is actually really refreshing.
Yeah, I think, it's Pedro Pascal.
Of course, yeah, Pedro Pascal.
Tremendous job. And, everything's just going a little too well for them.
As the way this game works is, like, the game is always like, oh, yeah, we got a nice little smooth spot, like, oh, there's a few runners here and there. Sure, we'll take care of those. But it's a smooth. And then all of a sudden, everything goes to shit.
Yeah, and that's where we're at here. I mean, they're just, they're like, oh man, we made it out of town. Here we go. We made it through these tunnels. And I was like, no episode of this show goes this well. And then we get the gunshot from the house, and we got the sniper up there.
Which I'm so glad that they brought him. They had that moment, because that was one of the most aggravating parts of the whole game to me, was that sniper fight.
Yeah.
Because there was not only the sniper, but there was also a bunch of people running around.
Right.
So I'm glad they kind of funneled it a little bit, but that was a pain in the ass.
It was such an intense scene in the show, and they did such a good job with it. I love the moment where Joel actually confronts him.
Oh yeah.
Where he comes in there, and like we said before, like Kathleen, this is a cult, because it would have been easy for that guy to put the gun down.
Yep.
Because he knew if he turned, Joel was gonna kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, you could have put the gun down, man. And Joel's like, just put it down. I'll let you live. Don't do it. And, then we just hear the gunshot.
Like, I think at one point he even says, please don't do it.
Yeah, he does. Because he doesn't want to kill this guy. I mean,
No.
it's an old man. He's, clearly following orders at this point. And I don't even think Joel knows that yet. He maybe thinks at this point it's just an old guy trying to defend his house.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because, you get the impression, I think he even talks about it a little bit in episode 4 with Ellie. But, Joel used to travel with people like this.
Right.
And so, those the raiders and the scavengers that are they would do anything to survive. So he's been on both sides of it. So just seeing him have he's like, hey, I'm trying to level with you, man. Don't turn around and try to shoot me, because you're gonna die.
Yeah. And then next thing we know, we hear a voice, and I'm thinking, is it the guy's wife? Is that somebody home? Oh my God. And then you realize it's coming through the radio.
Oh God. I was like, no.
And then it's like, they're almost there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh shit. And we know that the rest of our protagonists are all outside. And this is where the chasing kind of, it gets super intense. Mm-hmm. And they're going to basically run them down with this giant, plow/truck monstrosity that they've built.
Straight up post-apocalyptic Fallout vehicle.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, Fallout, Mad Max, whatever
Max,
you want to do. It's the zombie mower.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's what we get. We get this scene, and it leads up to where they've pretty much got him cornered, and Henry decides to surrender, knowing that there's no telling what's about to happen to him. I mean, probably be tortured to death. Definitely gonna die.
Oh yeah,
and maybe even Sam too.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I believe Kathleen even said, he's like, "Let the kids go," and he was like, "No."
Yeah. She was like, "Not doing it." The girl is with the guy that killed the people from the first episode, whatever. Yeah. And lo and behold, she's about to execute him, and then we get the action set piece that we've all waited for.
Since episode 1, I've been waiting for a massive horde actual problem, because we got a little bit with Tess's death, but it wasn't any real danger for Joel and Ellie.
Right.
But since episode 1, I've been waiting for a zombie horde, and this was the perfect moment to do it.
So we get the giant horde here. There's runners, there's clickers in this horde.
Mm-hmm.
The really tight camera shots with Ellie and the freaking gymnast clicker that
my God,
was just absolutely terrifying.
Oh man, it was reminiscent of the movements of the robotic Megan, because I wouldn't seen that with my daughter, and
right.
It just very much that
yeah, or any a couple of the creepy BioShock creatures and
there
stuff.
You go, yeah.
And we get these really tight shots with Ellie as she's running through, and Joel's protecting her from the window. And this was just so well done, and that comes straight from the game too, with him being up in the window too.
Yeah, and I love the little moments. If you would have blinked, you missed them. But Pedro Pascal would be looking, and then you see him make eye contact with Ellie, and it's just kind of you can see what he understands what she's trying to do,
right?
And so he's taking care of it.
Yeah,
clearing her path.
And this scene, these moments are really truly why I was like, no, I mean, Bella Ramsey is killing it, man.
Yeah.
And she always was. But this episode, it's not deniable any longer. Like,
Right,
you can't.
exactly.
These scenes were so well done between the two of them. I really love the chemistry between the two actors.
Yeah, me too.
Kind of funny that they were both on Game of Thrones, but never interacted or anything.
Right?
Because I'm pretty sure her first appearance was in the season after he dies.
I think so too, yeah.
Spoilers for Game of Thrones, I guess. Also, Pepsi, not a sponsor. Made us both thirsty. Anyway, so we got this. We got Ellie running from this crazy clicker. She ends up in the vehicle. Joel's panicking, and you can see it on his face that he can't. He's like, I can't get a shot because I can't see in there, and I can't shoot blindly into the vehicle because I might end up hitting her.
Exactly, yeah.
And and unlike Ellie, Joel is only worried about her, but like Ellie's worried about Henry and Sam too, and trying to get them out of there. And you can kind of see the frustration on Joel's face, like
just leave him be.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you out of here. I don't give a shit about the rest of this. And it looks like they're gonna escape. So what do you think about the death scene we get for Kathleen here?
Oh God, I was not expecting little pygmy from The Mummy Returns. Like, I was not expecting a leap. That got me. I was like, oh man, a jumping clicker. That is scary.
It's horrifying.
Oh my God, it was. But I mean, honestly, a great death, and honestly, for a villain the way she was, I felt was very a great. It did her character honor.
Yeah. I loved that moment. I was just like, okay, yeah. Normally I'd feel bad for whoever, but
right,
you deserve this. So we got to talk about the. Not elephant in the room, but pretty damn close.
Damn close.
Everybody, and right here on this show, we've speculated that, and I thought it'd be maybe a little more towards the end of the season, that we would get a bloater, and we got it, and it looked fucking incredible.
Oh God, it was so good. Like I know when they mentioned the infected that could throw spores and stuff like that, I was like, oh, that means they're probably not going to put it in because like they played it off as like it was a myth, and then all like the seeing it in episode 4 where the ground kind of started lifting up, I was like no.
Yeah, we were all like kind of speculating about what that possibly could be.
Right, and then this thing just crawls up out of like Hades or something. Like it was so good. And then it just starts ripping people apart, like not just like manhandling them and knocking them down. No, he ripped one dude's head right off his body.
Yeah, it was her like second in command.
Yeah. Which I really liked that character. Like he was, while he was a little culty, at the same time, like I enjoyed the aesthetic.
Yeah, you could tell he like knew what he was doing.
Right.
And I was like, if Joel goes one-on-one with this dude, I'm not sure how it's going to go.
Right? Like honestly, that would have been a great moment, but it really wouldn't have made sense for the narrative. So
yeah, it would be cool, but we don't need it.
Right.
And yeah, he's like, got the AR or whatever that he's got, and he's just like, this thing is shaking these bullets off like it is nothing. And, lo and behold, like it runs right at him and just.
So I guess my only complaint is this dude up until this point, like you said, seemed like he knew what he was doing.
Right.
He allowed the thing to run at him.
That's true. Well, nobody's ever seen one before, I don't think.
That's a fair point. Yeah. Like, he maybe had enough confidence that, like, his aim would get him through it, but...
And the suit looked incredible. It was, like, part CG and, like, part an actual
really?
suit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like a dude... It takes the dude, apparently, like, an hour and a half to get in the thing. And it's just, like, it's this... crazy intricate suit, and then they just kind of added some like effects
Speaking of suit, I kind of go back to the beginning of the episode where I was at this Savannah the con, and there was this group of girls who came in dressed as clickers and runners, and they did such a great job.
Man.
I took pictures of them, and it was so great.
Oh man,
it was terrifying to see them walk into the main vendor hall. I was like, nope. No. It's too close to home.
I wasn't prepared for that, but I think I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to have to mentally prepare myself to not freak out when I see like cordyceps zombies at conventions because there's going to be a lot now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I would even wager that because of how easy it is to do, that Joel might be the overdone Dragon Con cosplay this year.
Hell, I might even do a Joel.
Yeah, I mean, by all means. There's nothing wrong with doing the overdone cosplay. It certainly never stopped anybody during the Harley Quinn or the Deadpool years. So,
Right?
I'll take it. Because anybody can just buy a Deadpool suit and throw it on 'cause it stretches. So the bloater scene was incredible.
Oh yeah.
And now it's been a couple days since I watched the episode. Did they kill the bloater?
No, like it's still just ripping through shit.
He's still just out there wrecking everything. Because I was like, did they kill it? Interesting thing I read too. Interview with Neil Druckmann, who's the creator. Originally, they wanted it to pick that dude up and rip him in half, and then apparently, like Weta Workshop, like created like a fake body to like rip or whatever, and they were explaining it to him. They're like, well, see, people don't really rip down the middle like that. It's actually very difficult, and they were like demonstrating on this thing, and then they were just like,
that is phenomenal.
Yeah,
though.
and I was just like, okay, well. All right, and then they were like, all right, well, we'll just have him knock his head off or whatever. It was very effective.
Speaking of killing, infected, I will give it to the showrunners for putting in the way you kill a clicker. Like if you're trying to sneak up on them, like Ellie stabbing the two clickers that were attacking Henry and Sam.
Right.
Like it was like right at the base of the neck, going towards it, and I was like. That is like a kill that anybody who's played the game knows very well because that's like the best way to kill a clicker.
Right. Yeah.
So hats off to him. I just had to throw that out there.
The little details, like I said, this episode was really faithful to the game. I think more than any other, and also because this sort of setting and the action and everything of this episode, it is closer to a video game type thing. It's easier for a video game to portray the things we see in this episode. So that makes complete sense. All right, so now we're at the fuck your feelings section of the show. We find out afterwards that Sam has been bit. And we see Ellie. She immediately freaks out a little bit and tries to like kind of use her blood to prevent this from happening. And when I first saw that, I was like, okay, there's no way that's going to work, because if it does, then like everybody who likes these games is going to flip out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like the entire course of the rest of everything would have to change. So I knew it wasn't going to work. And then when she gets up the next morning and he's just sitting there on the bed, man, I was just like, oh my God.
I do have to, before we get into the feels part of this, this is a small gripe that I have with every movie that has someone trying to, like, they need blood for whatever reason. I can't stand the idea of someone putting a knife in their hand and slicing their palm. There is so much easier and more effective things you can do and cut that are not your palm, that is something that's going to do this
all
often.
the time.
Yeah, no.
It's going to take forever to heal. It's going to hurt every time you do anything ever. It's such a ridiculous concept.
But like, I think it's mostly because it's cinematic and you can actually, it makes it, like, cinematically it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm over here like, it's just like cocking a gun before you go into a room that you're going to be using it in. No. It should have been already cocked, fool.
I can get the closed hand because at least like on a low budget kind of production, or where you don't have a crazy effects budget, you can do that, not actually cut anything, and then you can cut the video, and then different take, have them open their hand. Oh, now I'm bleeding or whatever.
No,
okay,
I'm bleeding,
that's cool. But like they didn't even. She was like.
like matter of fact, I think she even like extended her hand out like that.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But she's a little kid.
She is a little kid.
So I guess that, we'll give him that. She's, probably not got a lot of experience with this, but yeah, I agree. I do always hate that too. But they get up the next morning. She sees him sitting there on the bed, and of course he has turned. And we all knew that it was about to happen.
Oh yeah,
point. And if you played the games, you knew that it was going to happen anyway. So.
Yeah. Which, like, I was like, I know when the episode started, I was like, oh fuck, they're gonna kill him at the end of this episode. I'm like, no, like, because I played the game, so I know. At least I figured they were gonna stick with the way the game does it, and I was like, oh, this is gonna hurt. This is. Oh, and then the attack happens. Like the like Ellie freaking out, like going through the door. Honestly, it was very reminiscent of the game too, because like you get
Yeah.
moments like that from Joel's perspective of like whether it's Ellie or Tess, like someone getting knocked through a door and like on the infected is attacking. So like that was another nod.
The fight was so. I mean, it wasn't a fight, but this attack was so visceral.
Oh God, like ooh. I'm not even sure if they got the actor to do that, like the young boy, but like if
It was
they did,
vicious, man.
oh, it was so good.
And you see Joel panicking because it's like Ellie's being attacked, and like that moment where like Henry like actually fires the gun at him, and Joel's just like, dude, he's gone. Like, what are you doing here? And Henry just has, you feel so bad for him because he's got a split just second to make this decision, and he can't make it. And I mean, the whole thing was just heartbreaking. And to add a little levity here, a quick shout out to Redbeard with the CPWAs, who I saw him make a post about this earlier. He was like, if you get a job on Last of Us and your name's not Joel or Ellie, you got about 2 weeks to find another job.
I mean, it's the truth, though.
And and he was right. So shout out to that because that's a good observation, and it's very true.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the way that this scene came together and the way they executed it,
oh, it was so good.
it was heart wrenching, man. And then with Henry having to pull the trigger, I just like you said it earlier. The casting perfect for all of it.
Right. Yeah. I remember just like that. I remember playing that part in the game, and I'm just like, because like it was very similar where like I want to say Joel wasn't right next to his gun, and Henry pulled the gun on Joel because he was like, "I'm not letting you kill him."
Right.
And then he's over here. Then he's like, "Oh shit, he's not even alive." And then that struggle between him and it just ooh.
Yeah, and this really better than any iteration, any version of the zombie apocalypse or whatever that I've ever seen. Like this whole like, what would you do if a loved one turned?
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen it this well done because you just see it. That you see the agony with his decision, and he has to make this choice right now, or the kid's already gone. Like Sam's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie's gonna die right there in front of Joel, and then Joel's gonna kill you. So like,
you got to make this decision.
Yeah. Yeah, man. The whole thing was just, it was heart wrenching, and we get Henry in these moments, and Joel, after it happens, and Joel is trying because Joel knows that like he's like he is not there at this point.
So we kind of like playing off of what was going on at that end scene, like they going back to the tunnel scene where Joel and Henry are having a conversation. Like Henry says something along the lines to Joel of like, you're not her dad, but you were somebody's dad." And so it was like they had this like kindred spirit kind of moment, and like seeing that connection at the end of the episode, like he's like, "Don't do it." Because I'm sure Joel had those thoughts too after Sarah died. So
Right.
It was like, oh no.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta get this gun from him right now.
Yeah.
And we knew he was probably going to fail unless they were going to do a significant departure from the games. And yeah, I mean, that's this moment. We go from this, this end for him. It was all really like poetic because we see where both like him and Kathleen obviously were always like opposed to each other. Mm-hmm. They were on opposite sides of a conflict. But they were so similar in so many ways because Kathleen, loved her brother and like that was like her focal point of her, or whatever, her existence kind of thing. Like when he died, like she is 100% completely obsessed now.
Right, about finding Henry because he ratted him out.
Right. And whereas like Henry did that to protect his brother, they both made horrible choices that led to others like being tortured and or killed to protect people that they loved or to avenge them. And, they both, neither of them made it out. Like it their decisions ultimately led to both of their own ruin from, different scenarios, but the same kind of setup where it's just like they made these decisions, and as they say in the episode, endure and survive.
Endure and survive. Yep.
And here they are. They both met an incredibly tragic end.
Yeah, just like you said, the 4 and 5 are definitely part 1 and part 2. Like I kind of consider them both like one big episode,
right?
And like I feel like these are really good iterations to the story, and they did a really good job, with the game adaptation and giving us a little more extra backstory on some of the reasons why you're coming across these raiders and resistance members. So like just all of the story up until this point, it's just been top notch.
Yeah. So you and I mean, not too long ago on your show, we talked about world building.
Yeah.
And there's a couple ways you can do it, and I think that world building, we talked about this, world building through characters is the hardest way to do it, but it's also the most effective.
Yep.
And so with like Bill and Frank's story, we got that where they took this giant world that's in an apocalypse and they zoomed it in real close on 2 characters, and they told us a story about this world through just 2 characters. And honestly, in these next 2 episodes, this is a little bit larger than that, but it's kind of doing the same thing through Kathleen, through Henry, through Sam. It's telling us a story about this world, and it's doing it through these actual characters that are in there. And I kind of love how, like Joel and Ellie are almost in the background in the middle of these episodes usually, like in the meat of them. Because it's usually like Joel and Ellie come to town or whatever, and something fucked either already has happened or is happening. Mm-hmm. And then we see them like reflect that situation and react to it. And at the end of this episode, they're burying Henry and Sam, and the reactions of both Joel and Ellie in that scene, probably the most like thought-provoking parts of the episode, because Ellie is straight 100% trauma at this point.
Yep. She was like she developed a friend, and you got close with Sam in a short period of time, and then have that happen to him right in front of her. Like stuff from the game I can't speak about yet.
Yeah.
But like she's talked about how like she's lost everyone, and like I think having this happen right in front of her again, essentially,
right,
is just she feels like she's going to be alone. Like she talked about her greatest fear.
Yeah. When she writes the "I'm sorry," like that shit broke me.
Oh, it was like not as bad as Bill and Frank, but it was getting there.
It was a different thing. Where
it was
like,
definitely different.
Bill and Frank was bittersweet, right? Because it was just like, their whole thing was like, you were emotionally attached to it. You were sad, but not entirely, because they went out in a way that, they died in the arms of someone that they loved, like more than anyone. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are way worse ways to go. People go in our world without the apocalypse in way worse ways than that every day. Mm-hmm. Whereas with this, it was just like, no, this is just pretty horrible.
Yep. Bad.
This is just real bad. And that's what we saw here. It's tough. So for her to, be standing there over Sam's grave, just the look on Ellie's face and the way she's acting, you can tell she immediately tries to just like close it off. Because she's just like, all right, where we're going next?
Yep.
She tries to just bury it, seal it off. And while this is happening, Joel's sitting there staring at the graves, and he's like, this is going to be us.
Yeah, and something I think I definitely noticed is, like, we talked about this earlier, where Joel, like I said, he's been on both sides. So, like, he's had to harden himself completely. And I think this whole relationship with Ellie is actually starting to soften him some. Because, honestly, the Joel at the beginning of the season probably wouldn't have buried those two.
Yeah, he would have been like, all right, let's go.
Exactly. So, like, just having that moment, and like you said, like, him at that realization is like, if we keep this up, this is going to be us.
Right.
So and like then Ellie just shutting off completely. It was just, like it's actually showing trauma in a more realistic way, in my opinion.
Yeah, and in the game, I think early on, like we get a very very like hardened Joel, and like a very naive Ellie, and then they like Joel softens throughout the game, and Ellie becomes harder throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the show, I think it took them a little longer to start showing that because, like Ace and I talked about last week, neither of us really liked the way that it happened in the show when she shot the guy the first time in the 4th episode. The way it was written wasn't as effective as it was in the game to me.
Right.
But then in this part, her reacting to Sam dying, you definitely see the trauma there.
You see it all.
Yeah, no, this is all catching up to her.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the way they it just the way the Ellie is, dealing with this. Like, I know there's probably a lot of people who relate to stuff like that is because they've seen some really horrible things, and the fact that they're actually giving that moment to show that trauma helps you connect with her better. And again, how can you think that she is not doing a great job as Ellie? Just saying.
That's right, Internet. We're talking to you.
Yes.
The 25 of you that are pissed. Actually, pretty much everyone on the internet is pissed about something, but 25 of you that are pissed about this. All right, so before we get into the Beyond stuff, so what are you going to score this one out of 10, man? What are you?
Oh, this episode?
This show's so hard to critique and score. And
it is. Honestly, I think I would probably give it an 8.5.
8.5, okay. Yeah, I'm probably right around there myself. I might. You're talking me out of it. My original score is like a 9, but I was like, is it really a 9 though?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess my thought process was while this was a great episode and very action packed, zombies, there was this point where I was like, while it was cool, the gymnastic clicker kind of threw me off a bit.
We can't really cool that.
I mean, it's very cool, and that's
okay.
That's why it's still high. But yeah. I mean, I don't know, they've been really rooted in more believability in this show of this actually happening, and I feel like that was a little too hokey for what they've already done with this show. So,
got it. I can completely see that. Yeah, I'm gonna go like an 8.7. I think I liked it a little more than you did, but I definitely liked it more than last episode. I think last episode, I agree with you. I think this should have been just one long,
right,
hour 45-minute episode. They've done it before. I mean,
right, yeah,
they're not scared to do that. But I could see why they kind of broke it up tonally, so they could set it up and then show us the flashback at the beginning of this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's really working, man. Overall, I mean, I think the show is tremendous.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've seen so many memes on the internet of all these people saying you can't have a successful adaptation from video game to TV. This show was doing it.
I think me and Kevin may have talked about that in the first episode where we were reviewing Last of Us here. This idea of the video game curse. Every time a cool video game adaptation comes out, people are like, such and such broke the video game curse. And I'm like, Clearly there's not a video game curse. The first 2 Resident Evil movies were good. All of them made money.
Yeah.
Both of the new Sonic movies are really good. I mean, there's other examples out there as well that don't come to mind immediately, but it's just at what point are we going to say that there's not a video game curse?
We just got to get over the House of the Deads and the Mortal Kombats and the Street Fighters.
And see, I even really like the first Mortal Kombat movie.
I mean, same, but there's a lot of people who it would not hold today.
The new one is trash, though. Have you seen the new one?
No, I have not. I haven't brought myself to do it.
Yeah, they just made up a character that's not in the games for the movie, and they're the main character, and they're terrible. But all the other stuff is good. But I don't know if you've seen Black Adam, but if you've seen Black Adam at home, it's like that little kid, the one that, yeah. If you take him out of the movie, it's 4 points higher. He just does nothing but hurt the film. Yeah, it's like that. It's like that.
It's like that.
I was not prepared. This is out of nowhere. But I was not prepared for the fact that I was going to be sitting across from that bobblehead Mando, and that he was just going to be over there doing that the whole time. I had to like hard focus on you, but so I don't look at it. Yep, there he is. All right. So that being said, before we get to the spoilers for the games, what do you got coming up on Tavern Notice Board, man?
Tavern Notice Board. So this week, I'm going to be dropping 2 episodes for
2 episodes.
2 episodes to review episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, and 12 of Legends of Vox Machina. So that'll be the Tavern Notice review.
And is that the whole season? 12 episodes?
Yeah, 12 episodes. Yep. So
I should start watching it then.
You should.
My entire friend group has watched everything except for me, and I have seen none of it yet. I've seen the first season, but I'm slacking.
Yeah, and then we're going to get back to regular schedule Tavern Notice Boards. Right after that, I'm probably going to be talking to some of our other friends that play at my tables, so be on the lookout for that.
I am very hyped about it.
And of course, coming out in March, we've got the Dungeons and Dragons movie, so we will be reviewing that as well.
March is going to be a big month. Speaking of Pedro Pascal and that bobblehead, we have Mandalorian Season 3 coming out.
So good.
You're going to find yourself back in that chair over that one, you can imagine.
Oh, yeah. I better be.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We're going to absolutely cover every episode of that, and I was doing the math with Ace yesterday, and shout out to Superhero Homies, and this Last of Us is still going to be running when Mando comes out. So I'm going to be a very busy bee here. I'm going to be in this room a lot.
A lot, yes.
So here we are. That being said, if you have not played the video games 1 and 2, this is where you want to take off. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back next week. But everything beyond this, we're going to talk game stuff. We're going to talk stuff that the show has not covered yet. So we're going to speculate on some things about the show and some things that might be upcoming and kind of like why the second game is bad. And so get out now if you haven't played the games. This is your final warning. Get out of here.
Go.
All right, if you're still here. Yeah, man. So what made you stop playing the second game?
Joel's death.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like the first 20 minutes of the game. That was pretty rough. I was like, wait a minute. This dude went from Boston to Wyoming, fighting through massive infected, and of course, raiders, and of course, I'm pretty sure they're going to do this in the show. The group that kidnaps Ellie, like before you get to the Fireflies, and then he fights the Fireflies, yeah. And what the fuck, and then just some random group catches him and Tommy off guard and kills. What?
Yeah, and does it in a way where Joel is just makes a bunch of dumb decisions he would never make.
Right.
Yeah, man, and it doesn't get any better from there. Just to let you know. So
yeah, I definitely need. I'm gonna play through it just so I can have have it in my head. I hear the gameplay is phenomenal.
It is.
So
it is, and I don't even like the first game or the second one. So but for different reasons. Like in the first game, I love the story, don't like the gameplay at all. In the second game, I'm like, oh, this gameplay is actually pretty good. And then I'm like, but this story makes me want to dig my eyeballs out with a spork. So that's where it's at, man. And what do you think we're gonna see on the show though next?
Next,
or at all? I mean. You mentioned her getting kidnapped. Do you think there's 9 episodes total? So we got 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 4 left. So we know what the last one's probably going to be. Unless, and this thought just occurred to me, instead of bringing Pedro Pascal back for 1 episode, do you think that they kill him at the end of season 1?
Oh God, I hope not.
I don't think the show, and people might be mad about this, I don't think the show lives past Pedro Pascal. Them killing Joel off, I don't think the show endures.
I mean, this will definitely be one of those moments where, they should, they should probably not even make the second season.
That's already going to happen. So
I know it's already going to happen. I'm just saying.
Well, they don't have to adapt the second game, though. I know Neil Druckmann has said that they're not going to do it, but, they could just make, they could make up whatever they want between those two games. It's a significant time.
Oh yes, totally.
Because otherwise, it's going to be you're going to make a second season, piss off literally everyone, and then that's it.
That's a fair point.
Because the third game is not even in development, which means that's 6-7 years. I mean, if they were to start full tilt working on Last of Us 3 today, right now, it's not coming out on PS5. That's going to be a PlayStation 6 game.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, I would actually love that. Like at the end of actually next season being just because they're doing a great job because they also have the actual writer of the game in development with it too. So like this is going to be like what happens with Joel and Ellie before the second game.
Yeah.
So I would love to see that. That would be great.
Yeah, I agree. Like just more Joel and Ellie adventures.
Oh yeah, it's like it's so good, and everything they've done so far has just been phenomenal. Like I think still my favorite scene is when Ellie finds the nude mag.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you walk around with that thing? I'm just like, I'm glad they kept that in. I was like, yay. It was just a moment for me that defined Ellie's character.
Do you think that we're going to see like a young Abby at the end of the first season?
There's that possibility.
I could see it too because it's TV. The way they handle the end of this is they only remember the finish.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
the way they stick this landing is going to be so interesting because it's going to have to be a significant departure from the game for it to land.
Oh, yeah.
More than anything else they've done, I think, with the end of the first game or season, rather, and pretty much all of next season, if they do the second game, they're going to have to drastically depart from the source material. Otherwise, I don't think it works as a TV show. I don't think you can. I mean, like Kevin put it better than anybody. Like the first, season is about love and hope, and the second season is about like hatred and vengeance, or the second game rather.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that works as a show. I don't want to see that for 90 minutes, like every week.
Yeah.
My mental state can't handle that, and I don't think a lot of people want to watch that.
So I think what they'll probably end up doing if they do get to the second game, is that I think they'll probably change a lot of things, and they'll definitely change the approach to the character. Because like they've done with the show up until this point is like they softened them a lot.
Right.
Like they're not nowhere near as like straight up hard asses. They are hard, but they're not like unhuman hard.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to have to make it medically make a little more sense as well, the ending of the first game when they do it in the show, because in the game they're just like, yeah, we're just going to crack her head open and I'm just like,
yeah, no.
There's not a medical reason to do that.
Not at all.
They're going to have to make it make a little more sense, I think.
Yeah.
Drop some kind of crazy explanation in there. I don't know.
Or maybe even make it so that I don't know, just change the reason completely. Because
right.
I will say that was probably the biggest gripe about the first game I had was really all of this bullshit for them to try to kill Ellie.
Right.
No, I mean, if they're if Joel is just done with their shit, because he already doesn't like the Fireflies,
right?
It's just Joel.
Yeah, it's Joel.
He's like, fuck them.
Yeah. That's the thing too. They don't even try to do a biopsy on her brain or anything something reasonable that we could do. And I mean,
do they have the capability to do something like that though? Because while they still have all the equipment, they may not have the power or the resources to actually do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what all they would have, And
yeah.
Maybe if you're watching this and you're a doctor and want to explain that to me, particularly maybe if you're a neurologist or something, by all means, leave us a comment and explain your very dedicated expertise. Just on the off chance that.
I mean, that'd be pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, what are the odds? If that really happens, I'm taking a week off. But yeah, man, you got anything else before we wrap this one?
No, man, this has been great.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me here on the the debut of the studio.
I know, right? This is so good. Like, you've been sending me pictures all week of like how like all this stuff coming together. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great, and I'm like, oh crap, now I've got to get on camera.
And the thing is too, like the camera doesn't even do it justice, but we're getting there. I'm trying to narrow that delta, between what it actually looks like in here and what you're going to see on the video. So
of course, yeah,
we'll get there. But hey, man, thanks for joining me as always.
Of course, man, thank you.
And this has been Entertainment Evolved. This has been yet another Evolved review.